Guys, what is going on? Welcome into the second mock draft of the offseason, a mock draft 2.0, and the real NFL draft's only a couple days away, right? So we're starting to gear up for it, get ready for it. I personally, I'm totally pumped up for it. I cannot wait. But let's not waste any time. Let's hop right into this thing. With the first pick, we have the Cincinnati Bengals on the clock, and I'm going with quarterback out of LSU. No surprise here, Joe Burrow, all right? Not going to spend a ton of time on this pick because it's pretty much the universal pick across every single mock draft. But yeah, when you look at Burrow's 2019 season, he literally checked every single box you could from the quarterback position. He did everything Ed Orgeron wanted him to do, and he excelled at it. TD to INT ratio, won a bunch of games, did not lose, Heisman winner, teammates loved him, fans loved him. The entire coaching staff loved him, really turned around the LSU program, showed a great ability to throw within the pocket and move within the pocket, leads wide receivers, did a tremendous job of doing that, and just spreading the football around, being the true point guard of that offense. So it's pretty much like a lock, Joe Burrow to the Bengals. Next up, I know there's been some rumors that the Redskins have been fielding some calls, possibly trading out of the pick. And there's been a lot of, rumors like Ron Rivera really loves Isaiah Simmons. They might go Tua out of Alabama because they're not 100% sold on a Dwayne Haskins. But I think when it's all said and done, Ron Rivera is a very, very smart individual. He's not going to overthink it. He's going to go with Chase Young, defensive end out of Ohio State, right? This is going to be one of those picks where in 2 years, maybe 3 years down the line, the Redskins fans are going to say, thank God we drafted Chase Young. Thank God we did not trade out of this pick. He is a stud. He is a beast. You already have first-round picks throughout the course of that defense, but specifically on the D-line with Jonathan Allen and Daron Payne and Montez Sweat, right? Former first-round pick like a while ago, Ryan Kerrigan at the outside linebacker position. The Redskins, Ron Rivera specifically, remember, they don't have a general manager over there in Washington. So being a defensive guy, I think he's going to say, hey, we're sitting at spot number 2, but the best overall players on the board. He's coming at a premium position, edge rusher. It's not the biggest need as of right now, but we can't overthink this thing. Let's get Chase Young in the building. Let's get after Carson Wentz. Let's get after second-year quarterback Daniel Jones, and then, of course, Dak Prescott. So Chase Young to the Skins. Moving on, we have the Detroit Lions sitting there at spot number 3. Actually, no, we don't. We have the LA Chargers moving up to select a quarterback, and it's going to be Tua Tagovailoa from Alabama, right? Now, I kind of went back and forth because I do not think the Lions are going to sit at spot number 3. I think they're going to be moving out. And it was all kind of a question. Who's going to be the highest bidder? Is it going to be the Dolphins with, really, a ton of assets here? They have multiple first-round picks. They have a ton of draft picks, right? A ton of draft capital. But I think when it's all said and done, the Dolphins might be leaning in a direction of another quarterback, but we'll get to that later. I have the Chargers coming up to spot number 3 to select Tua, right? When I look at the Chargers team, I think last season was really an anomaly, right? What are some weaknesses of this Chargers team? It's not wide receiver. It's not running back. It's not tight end. It's definitely not edge rusher, defensive line. It's not safeties. It's not corners. Not linebackers. It's probably quarterback, even though I love Tyrod Taylor. I love Tyrod Taylor. He's one of, if not my favorite player in the game, just because he's so fun to watch, especially when he's, on the move, and his deep ball accuracy is really something else. But this is the prime opportunity for the LA Chargers. When, with this roster, are they ever going to finish within the top 10 or the top 8, the top 7, top 6? It's going to be rare. This is a loaded team. Take advantage of it. Give away the draft picks. Move up in the draft and snag the quarterback of the future. Just be happy that you're not sitting at spot number 20 or 25, and now you have to come up and you have to give up a king's ransom to go up from, 28 to 3. You don't get to do that. You don't have to do that. You're moving up from 6 to 3. So it's not the end of the world. They're going to get their quarterback of the future. He doesn't have to play right away. The teammates love Tyrod Taylor. So even if he isn't 100% healthy, he has time to sit. He has time just to kind of chill and ride the bench and learn the NFL, the Chargers offensive playbook, learn the ways of the NFL. And also keep in mind, the LA Chargers there's not going to be the immediate pressure. Put him in the game right now because we need to win right now. You have Tyrod there. He's definitely a nice stopgap kind of quarterback. Chargers to Tagovailoa makes so much sense. Next up, we have the New York Giants on the board, or on the clock rather. And this is to me where the draft really starts, right? Because I think, like I said before, it's either going to be LA, it's going to be the Dolphins. I feel like coming up for that third pick. And Detroit's trading down. where do the Giants go? And I know the trendy thing, the thing that everybody's talking about right now, it's Isaiah Simmons. But I look at Dave Gettleman's last 2 drafts, and he's drafted 2 core pieces that he hopes to be the future of this team moving forward. Saquon Barkley, running back. Daniel Jones, quarterback. The 2 of those guys, right, those 2 positions cannot do anything if there's no offensive line. So I'm going Jedrick Wills, the best right tackle, the best tackle, in my opinion, in this draft. I think Dave Gettleman, he kind of has a... he likes to draft these big guys, right? He likes to draft the Will Hernandezes of the world. He likes to dish out, big money deals to guys like Nate Solder. He values the offensive line. He hasn't been able to select offensive line, with his time with the New York Giants, right? In the first round, I'm talking about. So now he has the flexibility to say, I'm at spot number 4. I'm not at 1. I'm not at 2. Not at 3. I'm going to get the best tackle I have. It's my choice at the offensive line, and I'm going Jedrick Wills, a guy who dominated at Alabama, right, at right tackle. So Wills to the Giants, even though it might not be the most popular pick. Next up, we have the Miami Dolphins. Now the Dolphins, this is a very, very, very favorable position for Miami because you didn't have to move up. You didn't have to give up any players or picks to move up to go get your quarterback of the future. I'm going with Justin Herbert out of Oregon, right? Herbert is a guy who I really, really like. I don't think he's ever going to be the Aaron Rodgers, kind of Carson Wentz, Drew Brees type of quarterback where they're just leading the team. They're the engine. They're like the straw that makes the stir, the straw that makes that stirs the drink. I think he's kind of his ceiling is more like an Alex Smith, where he's going to have to distribute the football and just not turn it over. But he's going to hurt you with his legs. He's going to hurt you downfield, and he has the big arm. He is a mobile quarterback. Really does well when he's outside the pocket, right, scrambling to his right and throwing on the run. I think Justin Herbert to the Miami Dolphins makes a ton of sense. He's a big dude with a big arm. The Miami Dolphins do not have a good offensive line, but the good news is he doesn't have to play right away, okay? He's a cerebral kid, really doesn't rub people the wrong way. He has no red flags off the field. You know you're going to get Justin Herbert's best each and every day he walks in the stadium, or the facility, rather. He's going to practice hard. He's going to try his best to become the best. And I think learning under a guy like Ryan Fitzpatrick, and especially not having to play right away, and also being in the same room as Josh Rosen, another really, really smart quarterback, I think it makes a lot of sense. And then, the latest rumor is half of the Dolphins team, like the building, want Tua, and then the other half want Justin Herbert. But Tua's not 100% healthy. We don't really know with the whole, virus and stuff going around. We don't really know what's going on with that. So I feel as though they might lean Herbert because he's 100% healthy and we don't have to trade up to go get him. So Herbert to the Miami Dolphins. Next up, we have the Detroit Lions. Originally it was the Chargers, but we have the Lions sliding down to spot number 6. Jeff Okudah, cornerback from Ohio State. Now I went back and forth. Is it going to be Okudah? Is it going to be Derek Brown? Because I feel like they really, really, really need both positions. And they did add Desmond Trufant through free agency, but I look at the defensive tackle position, and I was really thinking about putting Brown there because he's exactly what Matt Patricia wants. They went and they signed Trey Flowers, 2 off seasons ago. I think he wants the guy to clog up the middle because obviously Snacks isn't there. I don't think Daniels is going to be there either. But I went with Jeff Okudah, right? Because I feel as though he's going to want a number 1 corner immediately. When you look at the Patriot kind of way, everybody makes fun of Matt Patricia because he's not creative. He's just kind of a clone. He tries to be a clone of Belichick and kind of just does what Belichick does. I think he's going to look at that Patriot defense and say, hey, you know what? Stephon Gilmore is pretty damn good. We need a Stephon Gilmore. It didn't work out with Slay. We need a Stephon Gilmore. I'm not saying Okudah is Stephon Gilmore, but I'm saying he kind of resembles the number 1 style of cornerback that you'd want in today's NFL. So Okudah to the Detroit Lions. Next up, we have the Carolina Panthers on the clock. I have them selecting linebacker/safety out of Clemson, Isaiah Simmons. Now, you look at the new offensive coordinator for the Carolina Panthers, right? They actually have a brand new staff. This is a brand new Panthers team. New quarterback, new head coach, brand new coaching staff. No more Greg Olsen. No more... this team is different. No more Cam Newton. This is a big change, right? There's a lot of moving parts with this Panthers team. But go get a versatile guy. No more Luke Kuechly, by the way. Go get a versatile guy who single-handedly wrecked the offensive coordinator's plan in the national championship. And I know LSU won the game, but when Isaiah Simmons played in that national championship game against Joe Brady's LSU offense, he could not be stopped. He was the only player that showed up. He was the only player that Brady did not have an answer for. He was flying around the football field at multiple spots, making tackles, wrapping up guys in open field, making an impact on the game. I think now with Brady having the opportunity to draft a guy like that, Matt Rule, he's been around the college football game for a long, long time. He's going to see Simmons and say, oh my gosh, this guy's fallen to spot number 7. We thought the Giants were going to take him at spot number 4. Let's go get this guy because we don't have Luke Kuechly. We do have a major gap or a vacancy at safety. Let's go get this guy who could kind of plug a lot of different holes on the defensive side of the football. Isaiah Simmons to the Carolina Panthers. Next up, Arizona Cardinals. We got Tristan Wirfs, guard/tackle out of Iowa. Now, it's looking like he's going to be a tackle at the NFL level. I view him more as an NFL guard. But when I look at the Cardinals, this is a team that was active in free agency, and they added DeAndre Hopkins on the outside. They have they have Hakeem Butler coming back from injury. Christian Kirk, Larry Fitz is coming back, of course. That's a staple in every Cardinals team. I feel as though if they can solidify this O-line, if Kyler Murray can have more time to throw the football and more time to just hold the football and even develop running lanes, I think it's going to bode well for this Cardinals offense, obviously. The Cardinals offense, whether you're talking about 2019 or 2018, it was atrocious 2018 with Sam Bradford and Josh Rosen. It got a little bit better under Kingsbury because the ball was coming out a little quicker, but it's still not good, right? It's still not great. Tristan Wirfs out of Iowa makes a ton of sense, especially with Wills, who I think is the perfect fit for Arizona, being off the board. Next up, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars on the board, and this is just a blessing, right, for the Jags, right? Nobody saw this coming. Derek Brown out of Auburn comes in and fills an immediate need for the Jags. They traded away Calais Campbell. They traded away all these different guys, Jalen Ramsey, and what's going on with Telvin Smith, just up and leaving. There's a lot of question marks with this Jags team. Go get the most talented, the best defensive tackle, the guy that can wreak havoc up the middle of the field. This is where the NFL game is going. You need to create pressure up the middle, through the A and through the B gaps, just taking on double teams. Derek Brown will do that. Not saying he's Aaron Donald, but he's going to be a force. He's going to be a force, okay? In Jacksonville, you're in the top 10. I don't really know. Tom Coughlin is gone, but are they going to keep Marrone after next year? Are they going to fire him midway through? We'll see. But just go with the sure thing. There's a lot of question marks, but go with the sure thing. Derek Brown at spot number 9. So spot number 10, we have the Cleveland Browns. And it's going to be Mekhi Becton, left tackle from Louisville. I look at Kevin Stefanski, and he's always kind of had that punch-you-in-the-mouth mentality with the Minnesota Vikings. We're going to run the ball. We're going to run the ball. We're going to run the ball to set up play action. I think he's trying to bring the same philosophy to the Cleveland Browns. The offenses actually mirror each other quite well. Talking about the Vikings and the Browns here. He's trying to add pieces to the O-line. They kind of just said, screw the O-line last offseason under Dorsey. Now it's saying, hold on just a second. You guys messed up. Now I have to clean the mess. We sign Jack Conklin, but we still can get better. We still can get better. And now we got a guy, a massive, massive human being coming in from Louisville, falling to us at spot number 10. So even if you have to play him at right tackle, that's fine. But I have a feeling Conklin's going to be the solid guard at right tackle. Mekhi Becton's going to come in and play left tackle. They haven't really been able to find an answer at left tackle since Thomas left, obviously. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But Becton to the Browns. Next up, my New York Jets. We got to make this pick right. We got to draft a stud. 3 O-linemen are off the board. But the number 1 wide receiver is on the board, and it's CeeDee Lamb out of Oklahoma, right? Number 1 wide receiver, former Oklahoma Sooner. You look at the Jets offense, and they are completely desolate at the wide receiver position. We lose Robbie Anderson. Our top guys are Jamison Crowder and Rashad Perryman. That's not good, right? That is not good. We have guys like Josh Doxson on the team. Great. I'm hoping nothing but the best for these guys, but these dudes do not strike fear in the minds of defensive coordinators. We need to get an explosive lightning rod on the outside of this team. We haven't had any luck with wide receivers outside of back in 2015 with Brandon Marshall, that kind of crazy with Fitz Magic that whole year with Decker. But since then, we've had nothing at wide out. So CeeDee Lamb, he's perfect fit for the Adam Gase system, right? With bubble screens and slants and whatnot. Really, really electric after the catch. O-line, there are some question marks. You could make the argument for Andrew Thomas, but when it's all said and done, I think it's going to be a wide receiver, CeeDee Lamb. Next, we got the Las Vegas Raiders, rather. I'm going Jerry Jeudy out of Alabama. I look at John Gruden. I look at this offense, and I think the offense wants to get a little bit more explosive. They want to, and this was a good offense last year, okay? But I still feel like they do kind of lack the wide receiver depth, and Jerry Jeudy comes in and is immediately a really, really, really good number 2 with the ability to be like the number 1 guy for the Raider John Gruden offense. Reminds a lot of people of Amari Cooper, right? Former Alabama Crimson Tide member. Really, really solid route running abilities. Just so smooth. Really good after the catch. Great hands, even though he drops, some easy, passes sometimes. But you can't hone in on that. You can't nitpick him. Go with Jerry Jeudy. He's a stud wide receiver. Even if the Jets took him at 11 and the Raiders wound up with Ruggs or Lamb or something, it's a slam dunk, right? It's a slam dunk. So Lamb to the Jets, Jeudy to the Raiders, San Francisco 49ers on the clock. Is it going to be a wide receiver? No, it's going to be Javon Kinlaw. They traded away DeForest Buckner to the Indianapolis Colts for this pick. Now they replace him with Javon Kinlaw. I thought a little bit about putting Henry Ruggs here because he is kind of like a Tyreek Hill type of guy, and Tyreek Hill torched the Niners throughout the Super Bowl game. So I was thinking Henry Ruggs, but no, I'm like, you know what? You have pick 31. You can snag a wide receiver then. This class is deep with wide receivers. We got Michael Pittman. We got Jalen Reagor. Ton of guys. Claypool out of Notre Dame. Ton of wide receivers available. We got a Denzel Mims. All that stuff. Point is that the 49ers are sitting there saying to themselves, we have a chance to go get an underrated player in Javon Kinlaw, a guy who really did well in the SEC, a guy who did a lot of the dirty work for the Gamecocks. I think John Lynch, I think Kyle Shanahan know that this defensive line really was the driving force of the Niners team, and they can't start picking apart, like just saying, okay, let's not really care about it. Let's just kind of turn the other way and avoid it, ignore it. They got to go get a stud, Javon Kinlaw, because you're not going to get a Kinlaw or a guy of Kinlaw's caliber in round 2, in round 3, in round 4. You're not going to do that. So Kinlaw to the Niners. Next up, we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Obviously, the whole exciting news with Tom Brady and stuff coming in. They're pretty much set at every position outside of like tackle, running back. I'm going Andrew Thomas. Andrew Thomas falls perfectly in the Buccaneers' lap. A guy who could play left tackle, a guy who could play right tackle. You got to keep Tom Brady up because he's like 50, 60 years old now. He cannot be getting sacked. All right, protect Tom Brady. He'll distribute the football. He'll throw it where it needs to go under Bruce Arians. We'll see how it all comes together, but Andrew Thomas is the pick for the Buccaneers at 14. Now, 15, Denver Broncos. Interesting pick here. It's Henry Ruggs. This is, if you're a Bronco fan out there, you're probably saying like you're pumped up because you guys need wide receivers. I love Deshaun Hamilton and I love Courtland Sutton, but you still need some more wideouts. You still need some more bodies, and Henry Ruggs gives Denver something that they don't have, right? Which is a down the field vertical, take the top off the defense style of receiver. Falls perfectly in the Broncos' lap at 15. I know there's been some talk about Denver trying to trade up and go and to snag Ruggs, but in this situation they don't have to. Next up, we have the ATL Falcons, right? They just unleashed their new or unveiled their new uniforms. I like a couple of them. There's a couple that I'm not too fond of. I like the throwbacks. The throwbacks are sweet. But anyway, this could be Dan Quinn's last limb. So they need a player that could come in and play right away at a position of need. And CJ Henderson out of Florida fills the need, fits Dan Quinn's cover 3 system perfectly. There are some question marks about, how good of a tackler is this guy? How aggressive, how violent is this player? But in the cover 3 system, I don't really feel like you need to be that aggressive style of corner. So CJ Henderson makes a ton of sense. And again, there's been some talk about the Atlanta Falcons wanting to move up and select a Kinlaw, select a Jeff Okudah if he falls. But in this situation, Henderson falls perfectly right to the Falcons at spot number 16. Fills a need. Spot number 17, here's where it kind of gets a little interesting. And I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. The Dallas Cowboys pick at spot number 17 is easily the hardest pick to make in this entire mock draft. Every time I would try to do one, or even like in my ones that I've previously done, Dallas is so hard for me to select because they could go center, but there's really not one worth taking. You can go safety or corner, but is there a corner worth taking? Is there a safety worth taking? I don't know. I'm going Justin Jefferson out of LSU. And yes, Dak Prescott, signed the franchise tag, and you did sign Amari Cooper. You brought him back, great. We have Zeke under contract, great. But I feel as though they still lack the presence in the slot. And, Tavon Austin's one thing, and Randall Cobb's like another, but Justin Jefferson is coming off major production. This is a dude who defensive coordinators they're going to have to sit there and think like, okay, we have to guard against the run. We have to find a way to cover Amari Cooper on the outside, but we can't let Justin Jefferson slip underneath, right? Slip underneath, and catch these little mesh routes and these little slants and these little crossing patterns, because he's just going to eat us alive. Justin Jefferson might not be the biggest need for Dallas, but I think at this point in the draft, it's value over team need. So I think this is going to be one of those picks too where when you're in the middle of the season, Cowboys fans are going to be like, oh my God, where did this Jefferson guy come out of nowhere? We really needed a center at the time, but solid pick for them. So next up, pick number 18, we got the Miami Dolphins. Josh Jones out of Houston, tackle. This, you can make the argument and say, you know what, this is a reach. This is a reach pick, but I actually like Josh Jones more than a lot of people do. I like him more than, guys like Austin Jackson. I like him more than, Lucas Niang. I like him more than Isaiah Wilson out of Georgia. I like Josh Jones a lot. And this is a dude who I also think can play left or right tackle for the Miami Dolphins. We touched on it earlier. The Dolphins have a putrid O-line. We got to get better at that position. We're sitting here with 3 first-round picks. We got a versatile O-lineman with nice size on the board. With still a really high upside. Let's go snag Jones out of Houston, right? These picks are a little bit more expendable. We got our quarterback. We have another one later. We have 2 second round picks as well. Let's take a swing here. Let's swing for the fence here, because you never know. Josh Jones could be the starting left tackle for the Miami Dolphins or the starting right tackle for the Miami Dolphins for years to come. Next up, Las Vegas Raiders on the clock. Kenneth Murray, a linebacker of Oklahoma. Now, I do feel as though the Raiders need linebackers, and in this situation, Kenneth Murray is on the board for them. Murray, and again, he's like Jones. I like Murray a lot more than a lot of people do, and I know he's undersized, and you can say, oh, he's too short, and he's not the biggest guy in the world, but I look at his off-the-field leadership. I look at what Mike Mayock wants to do with his organization. I know he wants to bring in leadership. He wants to bring in high-character individuals. You take a look at his draft last year. I mean, they had a lot of high-character guys with Abram, with Farrell, with who else? Trayvon Mullen, right, out of Clemson. He's bringing in guys that have dominated at big schools that are great guys off the field. And Kenneth Murray checks all of those boxes. Plus, you take into consideration they need linebackers. So Kenneth Murray, kind of a new age linebacker if you can work with him. But I know there's going to be some teams that are scared of his skill set or scared of his physical makeup. Next up, Jacksonville Jaguars, spot number 20, the second of their 2 first-round picks. And I could see Jacksonville trading out of this pick because I have a small feeling that they could be in play for the Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes next season. So they might want to gear up gather as many picks as possible. But I'm not an expert on the Jacksonville Jaguars like that. It's just my speculation. I'm going Patrick Queen, linebacker out of LSU. So back-to-back linebackers off the board here. Queen's a guy who kind of emerged late for the Tigers, but again, the Jacksonville Jaguars have so many holes. They have this horrible habit of drafting really good players and then letting them go and pissing them off. Now you can say, hey, well, wait a second, Tom Coughlin's doing that. He's just so old and out of touch. But now he's gone. He's gone. We don't have to worry about him anymore. We're going to start creating a culture, and that's great. And Patrick Queen is a culture setter. He's going to come in and give the Jaguars defense a little bit of aggression on defense, right? Something I feel like they lacked when they don't have a guy like Jalen Ramsey, when Telvin Smith isn't there, when Calais Campbell is not going to be there. AJ Boye is not going to be there. So, I mean, the Jags are losing a lot of guys here, but they still have Miles Jack, the guy who I really like, and I do like Herndon a lot at corner. I think he's underrated, but anyway, Patrick Queen out of LSU to the Jags. Next up, spot number 21, Philadelphia Eagles. Ton of good wide receivers are off the board. Ruggs, Lamb, Judy, Jefferson. I am going with Denzel Mims, and I know a lot of people are going to shake their head and say, hold on just a second. This guy's being mocked in the second round. Don't take him in the first. We could get him in the second. All I say to you, or all I say to the people that doubt Denzel Mims, is just go watch him play. Just pop up, just type his name in on YouTube, whether it's a highlight video or if you want to search the internet for tape or rewatch Baylor games. This guy is explosive. Very, very explosive. Reminds me a ton of Allen Robinson coming out of Penn State. Not like the Bears are like today, but like as a prospect, Allen Robinson. He's going to be a guy that really, really turns on an NFL offense and really starts getting the passing game going. Really electric playmaker that's hard to bring down in the open field. I think the Eagles, they obviously need linebackers and they need wide receivers big time. I think Denzel Mims, people are going to say it's a reach on draft night, but I don't really think it's going to be. I think Denzel Mims to Philly makes a ton of sense. Let me know your thoughts on that one. Next up, Minnesota Vikings. They have 2 first-round picks, but they're sitting here at spot number 22 on the clock with a ton of needs. Remember, this team lost Xavier Rhodes and Trey Waynes, Everson Griffin. They lost a ton of guys. Stephon Diggs. This team can go in a ton of different directions, right? Mackenzie Alexander, another guy that they lost. A lot of guys, right? A lot of guys. But I'm going Tour Gross Matos, one of my favorite players in this draft. Defensive end out of Penn State. He's not going to be a guy like Von Miller or a Khalil Mack where he's racking up these 20-sack seasons. He's not going to be like that. To me, he's a lot like a Trey Flowers, a former Patriot, current Lion, a guy who's going to get his solid 8.5 sacks, but he's so good at setting the edge, and he's such a good run stopper. He is prototypical size. He's going to come in and work. Had to overcome a lot of adversity in his life. This is a dude who's going to come in and dominate. I think Mike Zimmer wants to get a guy in the building that he can mold, a guy who can play day one on the D-line and replace a guy in Everson Griffin who did a lot for that Vikings D-line. So, Gross Matos to the Vikings. Next up, New England Patriots. Jordan Love is on the board. It's not going to be Jordan Love because it's going to be Xavier McKinney, safety out of Alabama. It's not going to be Jordan Love because I don't really think he fits the Patriots system, like the 3-step under center kind of thing. I think he needs to be more in a spread out system like Mike McCarthy's system, like the Chiefs system, like the Eagles, and even the Saints system to a certain extent. So I'm not really feeling the whole love to New England thing here. I'm not really buying that. But Xavier McKinney is a versatile piece at safety who, is not afraid to hit. He's a violent player. And I think Bill Belichick understands that, shifting gears and going into life without Tom Brady, he's got to get back to his roots. And he's got to make sure this defense stays as the number 1 defense in football. I mean, this defense is absolutely dominant. All these, fans, like, specifically of the AFC East are saying, like, the reign is done, the Patriots are done, the Jets are winning the division, and the Bills are going to be winning the division, and the Miami Dolphins are going to rebirth. But Belichick is still there. Belichick is the mastermind behind this whole thing. Smart guy. He's not just going to let Brady go without having a plan. And I think part of that plan is maintaining the dominance on defense. McKinney, coach under, his former defensive coordinator with Cleveland, Nick Saban. I think it's a perfect match. He fits the system perfectly. Next, New Orleans Saints, spot 24. It's Jordan Love, quarterback out of Utah State. And I got to be honest with you. I'm not high on Love, as many people are. I think he needs to go to a perfect system for his strengths. I think he needs to go to a team with a creative, offensive-minded coach. And I don't think he's ready to play day one. What are the Saints? I mean, you look at the Saints, literally they check all of those boxes. Drew Brees, Sean Payton, and a perfect wideout system, or wide open system in the dome where he's going to be throwing it all across the field. Doesn't really have to worry about wind and whatnot. I still like a bunch of quarterbacks more than I like Jordan Love, but I think if there's any sort of place that Love can have success, it's going to be with the Saints, and they don't have to trade up to go get their quarterback in the future. They get him at spot number 24, like the mid-20s. Like, it's crazy value. Next up, Minnesota Vikings, spot 25. Cornerback out of TCU, Jeff Gladney. Again, this is one of my favorite players in the draft, and you can make an argument and say, hold on, Christian Fulton, he was at LSU, he was at the bigger school, people know about him more. I feel as though Gladney is more of a fit that Mike Zimmer wants, honestly. I think he's a really good system fit. I think he's more of a safe prospect. I think Fulton is a little bit more boom or bust. He does take a lot of chances, Fulton does, but I feel as though Jeff Gladney, I think it could go either way, but I kind of settle on Gladney because I personally like Jeff a little bit more than Christian as far as as a cornerback prospect projecting to the next level. I really like Gladney a lot. A guy who could play in zone end man, versatile guy for Zimmer. Next, Miami Dolphins, spot number 26. last of their first round picks, and I have them going corner out of Clemson, AJ Terrell. Now, I know the thing is with Terrell, like he got absolutely shredded in the national championship game. But you know what? A lot of people got shredded by LSU. Don't define AJ Terrell's future career from one game against the former or the first overall pick and a guy who's going to be a top 15 pick next year in Chase out of LSU. Don't define Terrell's career like that. He's going to be a guy who could come in and he doesn't have to guard the number one wide receiver because this Dolphins team, they have Xavier Howard. They just signed Byron Jones. And I know you can say, why are we taking a corner? I think look at Brian Flores. Look at where he's coming from. New England, great defenses. You can look at a guy and say, hey, maybe an AJ Epinesa here. But I think when it's all said and done, Brian Flores knows how much cornerbacks mean to a defense. Having good, solid cornerbacks that can play and that are versatile and they can hit and they're healthy. I think Terrell fits a lot of those different boxes and he has a high upside as well. Received tremendous coaching by Dabo Swinney as well. And Venables. Moving on, Seattle Seahawks, spot number 27. Seattle Seahawks, AJ Epinesa, defensive end out of Iowa. I like Epinesa a lot. He had a trash, horrible combine, but I still like him. I still really like Epinesa. Call me crazy, but I think this is a dude who's going to, again, not be the Von Miller speed guy off the edge. I think he's going to be more of a Ryan Kerrigan. I really do think that he's going to kind of live in the 6 to 10 sack range every year. But he's never going to have the one sack. He's never going to be pulled. He's never going to have question marks about loving the game. I think he's going to be a solid piece that can match up really well on the opposite side of a Jadeveon Clowney. So I really like AJ Epinesa as a late first round pick, even though he had a really bad combine. Next up, spot number 28, Baltimore Ravens. Caleb Von Chasen, right? Edge rusher from LSU. I'm not as high or on Chasen as a lot of people are, but I look at Baltimore and they definitely need some edge help. They seem to want to get faster on the defensive side of the football, and what better guy? I mean, this is a dude who's currently being mocked in the top. I'm going to say top. I'll say spot number 14 to 20, and you're getting him at 28. So as far as value goes, I could see John Harbaugh wanting to get a guy in like Chasen in the building, and now you're sitting here at spot number 28 saying, we need edge help. This guy's fallen to us. This guy did really well at LSU. Didn't really rack up a lot of sacks, but he caused a lot of havoc for quarterbacks in the backfield. Let's go snag him. So next up, we have the Tennessee Titans. Outside linebacker out of Wisconsin, Zach Baum. Again, Zach Baum's one of my favorite players in this draft. I think he's going to be one of those solid players that people look at and will say, you know what, how did this guy fall in the draft? He should have been a top 15, top 20 pick. Foreshadowing into next season. Because as of right now, he's kind of being round 2, early round 2, late round 1 at the high point. But Zach Baum, I definitely feel like he fits the Titans defense. I really feel like he's the Mike Vrabel style of guy because everybody knows the Wisconsin defense coached under ex-Jet Jim Leonhard. Hard nose. Don't give up a lot of yards. They don't give up a lot of third downs. This is one of the best defenses in the country, in the Big Ten. And Zach Baum was a big reason why this team was such a good unit. So I could see, and they also kind of need that outside linebacker presence as well. But the Titans could be in for Clowney, so we'll see how this whole thing plays out. Next up, Green Bay Packers, Brandon Ayuk, right? Wide receiver out of Arizona State. I feel as though, and I know a lot of people will say Jacob Eason or whoever the top quarterback is on the board, but I don't feel like Green Bay is ready to take a quarterback just yet. I would kind of check that out next year. Go all in. Go all in this year and go get a wide receiver to help out Devontae Adams, to help out the run game, and to, most importantly, help out Aaron Rodgers. Ayuk is a guy who's shooting up draft boards, really, really good college career, JUCO transfer, really electrifying playmaker when he has the football in his hands. So Ayuk's a guy who I really, really like. Next up, we have the San Francisco 49ers going Jalen Johnson, corner out of Utah. Again, I really like Johnson. I think he definitely is a tough player who had a lot of responsibility in the Utah defense, and Utah, like Wisconsin, was a top defense in college football last year. Like I said, a guy who is asked a lot, and he shows up, game in, game out, year in, year out. And I look at San Fran. Sherman's getting up there in age. I feel like quarterback is really quarterback, wide receiver, D tackle. Those are the positions that San Fran really, really needs. So you're checking a box here with a cornerback. So out of Utah. Last but not least, spot number 32, Kansas City Chiefs. Congratulations, you guys won the Super Bowl last year. I hope the Jets do the same at some point, but we'll see. Whatever. They go Cesar Ruiz, center / guard out of Michigan. The Chiefs have a lot of positions already kind of checked, right? They have their wide receivers and they have their running backs. For the most part, they could go out and they could get a DeAndre Swift or a J.K. Dobbins or a Jonathan Taylor, but I feel as though they really need help in the interior of the offensive line. And you could say, well, what about an Austin Jackson? I mean, he's being talked about as like one of the top tackles. Dealt with a crazy injury, but came back on short notice and really had a solid outing all of last season for the Trojans. But he's more of an outside guy. I feel like Ruiz is going to be like, hey, I could play left guard. Hey, I could play right guard. Hey, I could play center. Whatever you need me to do, coach, I can do that. So Ruiz provides a day one starter with versatility. So you can plug him on the right side, left side, center, whatever you want to do. Really nice staple for the Chiefs offense for years to come. So yeah, there you have it. Mock Draft 2.0, all 32 picks. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section regarding this mock, and who do you guys have? If you guys have a mock draft, please drop it down. Drop it down in the comment section. I cannot wait to see it. Like I said before at the start, the draft it's quickly approaching here, so we got to get ready. So that's the mock. Let me know your thoughts, and yeah, thanks so much for watching. Long video, and yeah, go Jets.